What's up, guys? Joshua here with Chris with the exciting news that the X-Men are possibly going to get a live-action TV show.
Yeah, now the possibly element is that this is in development, and
we've heard about it before.
We've heard about it before, yeah. We've heard that, you know, it might be an X Factor series. We can talk about that a little bit. We heard that, you know, they were wanting to develop this. Now they've come forward and said, yes, we do want to develop this, but
Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a bunch of burning questions coming out of this, and the first big one is that can they do this?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's a negotiation, right? They own the movie rights. They don't own the TV rights. And as we know, and we've talked about a bunch of times, there have been some peculiar things happening between Marvel and Fox in that Marvel Comics has dropped a lot of the books that tie into Fox property movies. Mm-hmm. So, you know, is the relationship strong enough there? Yeah,
you do hear, and also on the movie side as well, they're sort of like fighting over Quicksilver, and so they're both using them in their movies.
Right.
So it seems we're getting the impression there's some bad blood there. But from the report that came out, it's that they actually had some positive meetings. You know, they're cautiously optimistic that they're actually going to get these rights. And you know, you think that that Marvel would be almost greenlighting a competitive series for another series.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, it's still Marvel.
Yeah,
Marvel's still getting their name out there. They're still getting some money.
They'll get money for sure. And here's the other thing you have to take into account when you're thinking about this. X-Men as an entity exists with Fox, and we know that Fox is not dropping it anytime soon. They're doing 3 movies in 2016, etc. So they're going to be developing movies. And it's very unlikely, I think, that Marvel themselves would develop a series that competes with those movies, because I don't think they want to muddy the waters in terms of that. They're building out their cinematic universe. They're not going to have an element that they can't then plug into their movies. That's my opinion. I don't think they'll cross streams like that. So it's really about whether or not they let Fox do this.
Yes.
They can grant them the rights, and they might just take a bigger cut because they know Fox wants to do it.
Yeah. So, and you know, from there we would think, you know, why is this the good time to do an X-Men live action series?
Yeah, I mean, you've got all these TV shows now. Well, I mean, obviously superheroes in general are huge now. More movies, more superhero movies ever coming out. More superhero series in TV and Netflix, etc., being developed all the time. And so this is the time, like, if you're going to hit it, and we think this would probably hit in 2016, maybe 2017 if the rights drag out. This is kind of the time. Like, if you miss this window, I feel like you might miss it.
Yeah, so strike while the iron is hot, for sure. And definitely what really makes me think that X-Men will work is Flash. Because, you know, Marvel and CW, it's ABC and CW, had Arrow and S.H.I.E.L.D., but a lot of those aren't special effects heavy, a lot of practical effects, and just people who aren't superheroes are in the show. But Flash, like, every episode he's using his super speed, which is like an intense like special effect, and he's got like a villain with a cool power or something like that, sometimes multiple villains. So it makes me think that the X-Men, if Flash can pull off all that, then the X-Men sure can, because they're of course known for having tons of crazy powers.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at like the way that Marvel is developing things with Netflix. They deliberately went with street level characters so that the budgets wouldn't be as high over there. And S.H.I.E.L.D. is kind of the same way. Like, you don't have superpowered beings all over the place. It's kind of Spyville.
Yeah, and Agent Carter as well.
Agent Carter as well. So Flash is the greatest example of that. I still don't think X-Men, no matter what they do, is going to be crazy over the top of the effects. It just gets too expensive.
Sure.
And you know, Fox, you know, that they have that challenge. You don't want to spend so much money bringing something to the screen that you can't then support or make money back from. So, interesting.
Well, you know, even if you considering all that, you would think, where do you go? Let's say they get the green light. Where do you go? How do you like make this? And I think the biggest question of how you make it is, do you have it tie into the movies, or do you have them create its own separate universe?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see them doing anything that doesn't tie into the movies. Like, I feel
really?
Like, yeah,
I'm of the opposite mind, but why do you think
well,
that?
I'll tell you. So, number one, they have a lot of money tied up in that franchise. They've got 3 movies coming out in 2016, Deadpool, Gambit, and Apocalypse. Those are all happening, you know, in this X-Men shared universe that we know of. You know, like, I'm guessing they tie in some
rumors
way.
Have reported that that's what's going to happen.
So, I think if you do all that, you do all that work to create that whole thing, then you don't want to, like, do something, you know, on a parallel line with an X-Men series that isn't going to factor in, isn't going to tie in, isn't going to X factor in. Anyway, so look, I think you know, it will exist within the realm of the movies, but I'm not sure it'll use movie characters. We can talk about that in a bit. I want to know why you think it's not going to.
I feel like that the movies are so first of all, the timeline is so like messed up. It's even with the Days of Future Past, even with the Days of Future Past sort of like soft reboot to the franchise, there's still a lot of way too many question marks to deal with. And also, all the cool characters who I would want to see in an X-Men TV show are in the movie, and you can't get like Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman and Halle Berry to come in and fulfill those roles. Yeah. So we're going to be getting sort of like, you know, sort of the B, C, D list characters, and it's like, who, I mean, I love those characters, trust me. One of my favorite characters is Dupe, people. But
I like Dazzler.
No, totally, rock on. But rock on Dazzler. So it's like, will the general public want to go watch a show that's like the X-Men, but not about the X-Men? Kind of like how Gotham's a show about Batman with no Batman.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think that particular experiment was a success. Like, to me, like if I want to watch a Batman show, I want to watch a Batman show. But for this, I just feel like, I'm not saying what I want. I'm saying what I think Fox will do is this. What I want, ideally, is a TV show that has Wolverine in it, and Cyclops in it, and Jean Grey in it. I just don't think that they're going to do that. I don't think that it's in their wheelhouse.
I mean, the CW has already said that their Flash and Arrow shows, those are not going to connect to the cinematic universe.
None of their DC shows.
Obviously, we don't know how that's going to pan out yet, having a Flash TV show and a Flash movie. But network is already, you know, daring to do that.
Yeah, I think audiences are savvy enough to be able to distinguish now. Like, there's been enough superhero things where they can be like, okay, that's the TV version, that's the movie version. I mean, maybe 1% of people will get confused by that, but I think most people have an idea that those are separate narratives. But I just don't think they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to tell like double Wolverine stories. It gets a little messy. So what could they do? Like, what if they're not going to use the movies? What could they draw from?
Well, with the rumor of it being X Factor, I could totally see them going to like the 90s government-sponsored X Factor team.
Yes, please.
The original X Factor is pretty much the exact same 5 original X-Men: Scott, Jean, Iceman, Beast, and Angel. So you're not going to want to do that, obviously, for reasons we just discussed.
You're going to want to, but you're not going to.
You can't. So they can get this other team, which had like Havoc. You know, you can use him from the movies if you want to do that, or not, or just cast a new Havoc. People would accept that. There's like Strong Guy, like characters like that. Polaris, I think, is a great character. Magneto's daughter. So you have a Magneto-esque character who's got some of the coolest powers.
And a Magneto tie-in, to be honest.
She can constantly reference like him, but never have him on screen.
Look longingly at pictures of Ian McKellen.
So I think that would be a great way to go. And also, because it's like this government-sponsored team, it has sort of the S.H.I.E.L.D. vibe of it's not the big things that are in the spotlight, sort of like almost behind the scenes. You have like Black Ops sort of clandestine like missions that are sort of like secret missions, government-sponsored mutants, but not sort of the stuff that you'd see in the movies.
Yeah, I really do feel like S.H.I.E.L.D. is a good... You should look to S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, it's like a template.
Yeah, to see what the template for this might be. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting stuff. What era do you think? I mean, if you're going based on... Well, regardless if you're going based on movies or not, what era do you think this will be set in?
Well, actually, let's bank this off the movies, because there would be 2 timelines if you were going to spin them out of the movies. I think one would be the present, where we saw at the end of X-Men Days of Future Past, where everybody's like really happy and like everything worked out okay. Everyone's alive.
Yeah,
like,
it's a whole series about them just being like super stoked to be alive.
Yeah, really complacent and just like chilling out.
They're all getting fat, watching like...
Good thing we dealt with Magneto and Apocalypse already. Things are fine.
Amazing.
Yeah, or they could go spin it out of the end of X-Men Apocalypse, which happened in the 80s, so this would be like a 90s X-Men TV show?
Or, you know, it could be present and then still just dealing with the, you know, the repercussions of the timeline that Apocalypse sets up. Because
he could set up a new interesting status quo that the TV show picks up on.
I think that, you know, it could be 20 years hence from that, you know, and it's like, oh, hey, here you go. One thing I don't think they're going to do is set it in the past. I don't think they'll set it in the 80s or the 90s because it just gets too expensive. You have to always consider budget when you're talking about TV. They're never going to go like that hardcore because you're going to have to change all the clothes, all the cars, all the exteriors. There's a lot of CG involved if you want to, like, you know, represent things that weren't there, at the time.
Sure.
So I think they're going to keep it in the present. But what present? Is it going to be the post-apocalypse present?
That's
is
a
it going to
good
be
question.
Yeah, is it going to just be normal present and X-Men, exists on its own? Lots of questions.
So what are your final thoughts on this? X-Men getting a live-action TV show?
I mean, number one, I'm really hoping it happens because I do want to see what they do with X-Men, and X-Men is like serialized to the point where I like the movies a lot, but like I'm left wanting in between movies, and so I think like an ongoing mutant series could be great. I mean, Misfits of Science was awesome, but that was only on for 10 episodes.
Yeah, in all of comics, X-Men has. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. That's why I cut you off. X-Men has, more than a lot of other comic book franchises, a ton of characters.
Deep.
So this would be, and a lot of them are very beloved, so this would be their chance to shine. So I think that would be great for them. I'm very excited. I can't wait to see what happens, get more details. I'm also very confused.
Yep.
So we'll just wait to get more information as it comes along. And so those are our thoughts. Those are our burning questions about the X-Men live-action TV show. Let us know what you guys are thinking in the comments. And for all things X-Men, stay tuned to IGN.